the honorable presenters of this webinar, distinguished webinar participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to SEAMEO Qitep in Science webinar series entitled Integration of Education for Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship Education in Science Teaching. My name is Adela Vina Putri, Research and Development Officer of SEAMEO Qitep in Science. I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Today's webinar is the fourth series of the SIGIS webinar. This is part of SEAMEO Qitep in Science initiative to provide teachers and education personnel with current issues related to science education that can be integrated in teaching and learning activities in the classroom. Before we start, please let me inform you our agenda today. First, presentation of Indonesia Raya, SEAMEO Color, and SEAMEO Song. Opening remarks from our SIGIS Director, Dr. Indrawati. Presentation from Mr. Reza Setiawan from SEAMEO Qitep in Science. Presentation from Mr. Jan Derolsi Kasunkad from Department of Education, Regional Office 1, Philippines. Question and answer session and closing. Dear participants, let's move to the first agenda, which is the presentation of Indonesia Raya, SEAMEO Colors, and SEAMEO Song. We kindly invite everyone to rise and adjust your camera accordingly. Please be seated.
It's time to open our eyes to a bright and promising future. We'll rise to the call of the times and create a stronger tomorrow. Let's start to make a difference, teaching everyone to learn. Through science, health, and technology, we will share our expertise. By promoting knowledge and policies, we can build a better world. Stand. We'll achieve our goals through partnership, creating opportunity by working hand in hand. Accomplish all our dreams for a better quality of life is now within our reach.
Next on our agenda is opening remarks by Dr. Indrawati, the Director of SEAMEO Regional Center for Qitep in Science. Dr. Indrawati, the time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Technology Department, Don Ramon A. E. Costales Memorial National High School, Department of Education, Philippines, Mr. John Darrell Kansunkat, Honorable Deputy Director of Core Program of SEAMEO Qitep in Science, Mr. Reza Setiawan, all teachers and education personnel participants of today's webinar. A very good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is our pleasure to welcome all of you at the webinar on integration of education for sustainable development and global citizenship education in science teaching. Ladies and gentlemen, SEAQUIS as a regional center in Southeast Asia with focuses on developing quality of science teachers has broad involvement in climate change issues through its training courses as well as Education for Sustainable Development, or ESD, since its establishment in 2009. ESD provides an umbrella for many forms of education and climate education fosters understanding of the complexities and interconnection of the various challenges posed by climate change. The importance of ESG has been increasingly concerned at the international level, which is highlighted in United Sustainable Development Goals and SEAMEO 7 priority areas. Besides the climate change and other environmental issues, the most challenging issues faced by people around the world for this last 1 year is COVID-19 pandemic. The world sees this as COVID-19 takes the life of loved ones. Fears about being infected with COVID-19. Leaders of different nations in the world, from the wealthiest to the poorest, exhibited the same concern. Whatever their race or ethnicity, as they try to reassure their citizens that we shall overcome. The United stand to combat COVID-19 pandemic is indeed a form of global citizenship, albeit so through the challenging circumstances. Undeniably, the advent of COVID-19 make global citizenship education more important and relevant. The global pandemic has indeed further raised the need for strong and resilient global citizenship. Ladies and gentlemen, in response to this current challenging situation, SIKI's initiative a webinar as a forum to share and discuss best practice of teachers and education personnel in developing innovative science teaching to overcome challenges related to sustainable development and global citizenship. In this webinar, we will share our perspective on how science education could contribute to global citizenship and sustainable development. In addition, we have also invited one of our training alumni, Mr. John Darrell, who has reached great professional achievement as a teacher at his country. He will share his best practice on conducting science teaching activities related to sustainable development and global citizenship education. Distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude my remark, let me express my sincerest gratitude to Mr. John Darrell for his willingness to share his experience with us. We do hope we can work with you again in other programs in the nearest future. Last but not the least, my gratitude and appreciation are delivered to all participants for participating in this webinar. For no further delay, it is my pleasure to declare that the webinar on integration of education for sustainable development and global citizenship education in science teaching is officially open. We wish you a pleasant webinar. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Indrawati. Dear participants, before we move to our main agenda, please let me inform you some important guidance regarding this webinar. Today, there will be two speakers who will share their knowledge and experience about integration of education for sustainable development and global citizenship education in science teaching. The speaker consists of Deputy Director of Program, SEAMEO Regional Center for Qitep in Science, an expert also advocate from Education for Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship Education from Department of Education, Regional 1, the Philippines. Each presenter will have 30 minutes for presentation and we will have 15 minutes for Q&A session. To ask questions during the discussion, for participants who join this webinar on Zoom, you can type your question on the Q&A box on the Zoom application. We will invite one or two selected participants to directly ask questions to the speakers. while other selected questions will be read by me as a moderator. For participants who join this webinar on YouTube, please type your question on YouTube chat box and I will read selected question from you. And then, to indicate your attendance, for participants who join this webinar on Zoom, you can fill in online attendance form at our course information system. And for participants who join this webinar on YouTube, we will provide Google Form for the attendance form. The links of the attendance form will be shared at the end of this webinar, so I suggest you keep joining this webinar until the end. Thank you so much, Dr. Indrawati, for opening remarks. I will invite Mr. Reza Setiawan to come forward. Without further ado, we will move to the first speaker of our webinar. Our first speaker is Mr. Reza Setiawan from Indonesia. Please allow me to introduce our first speaker. He is Deputy Director for Program at SEAMEO Qitep in Science since 2020. Previously, he was a head of Program and Training Division in our center, and he was actively support several programs in environmental education for sustainable development in years. Now, let's start our first speaker's presentation. Mr. Reza, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Adam. Please allow me to first setting up my laptop here. Okay. Okay, so Honorable Director of SEAMEO Qitep in Science, Dr. Indrawati, our invited speaker from Department of Education, Regional Office 1, the Philippines, Mr. John Darrell Kasunkat, and our beloved participants joining our today's webinar. Good afternoon. Thank you for your participation today. My name is Reza Setiawan, and I would like to share about SIKI's contribution in promoting sustainable development and also ESD, the Education for Sustainable Development, through its programs. I think I won't be take too long, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes. So hopefully it can give you perspective on how SIKIs develop and also contribute to this concept of sustainable development and also education for sustainable development. Okay, so first of all, I believe that most of us already understand about the concept of sustainable development, or SD, and also ESD. But right now, I just want to briefly recall about both of those concepts. So the term sustainable development came out from concerns related to the rapidly increasing population that, as we can see in the left-hand side of the picture there, that in 2013, the world's population growth has reached around 7 billion. And for comparison, here I also put the latest real-time data that I gathered from Worldometer website regarding the number of world population yesterday, and this keep counting for sure. And while if you look at the next picture there, the right-hand side, that the ecological footprint, which is the human demand on natural resources, or we can also say the quantity of nature it takes to support people or an economy of the world population, is not proportional or imbalanced with the decreasing availability of natural resources, energy, clean water, and also food. So this imbalance can, of course, is also emphasized by data that says almost 50% of our tropical forest is already lost, and also the concentration of the carbon dioxide of CO2 in the atmosphere is increasing more than 25%, which can cause extreme climate change and also global warming. And also we have a kind of situation that the poverty, in which about almost 1 billion of people in the world experiencing that kind of food shortages. So all of these things shows that sustainable development must be carried out with the scenario that to live in one planet Earth, it is necessary for us to lower the ecological footprint through unconventional efforts. That, as you can see in the picture there, that if we keep doing just business as usual, we need 3 Earth just to contain our need. And then in today's world, we recognize the wide range of interlinked challenges and of issues that exist need to be covered. The Sustainable Development Goals, or we call it SDGs, were created to address these interconnected elements of sustainable development. As you can see there are 17 SDGs goals that has been formulated that lies within the economic growth, social inclusion, and also environmental protection. Now, education is the most integral part to reach these goals. And as stated from UNESCO, education for sustainable development empowers learners of all ages with the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values to address these interconnected global challenges that we are facing right now, including climate change and environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, poverty, and also inequality. And learning must prepare students and also learners to find solutions for this kind of challenges today and the future as well. And education should be transformative and allows us to make informed decisions and take individual collective action to change our societies and care for our planet. So education for sustainable development was born from the need for education to address growing sustainability challenges, and ESD for 2030 places emphasis on the education's contributions to achievement of the SDGs, and it aims to review the purpose and values that underpin the education. ESD is recognized as a key enabler of all SDGs and achieves its purpose by transforming society through learning content, such as climate change into all kinds of learning, and then pedagogy, environment to employ interactive project-based learner-centered learning approach to achieve societal transformation that will eventually empower people to take responsibility for present and future generation as well. This is SEAMEO 7 science priority area as the basis of how SEAMEO work. These 7 areas comprises of health literacy, natural resource, climate change adaptation, until STEM education for future workforces. And most of these areas, as we can see there, are in line with the spirit of sustainable development. And these 7 priority areas are also the basis of SEAMEO Center in formulating their programs, including us, SIKIS. And these are several programs and events conducted by SEAMEO Secretariat, collaborating with other centers also related to education for sustainable development. We have SEAMEO Japan ESD Award. We have also pre-service teacher training in integrating education for sustainable development, and many others. So now what is the main contribution from us, SIKIS Qitep in Science, to improve the ESD awareness and the practices in Indonesia or any other SEAMEO countries? That as one of SEAMEO regional centers, SIKIS is also taking part in developing and promoting ESD, both as policy in regional and also national scope. We was established in 2009, and it means that we have been running about 12 years now, running its mandate to improve the quality of science teachers in the region. And sustainable development has always been part of Center in Developing program that is stated in our vision. Since our domain is science education, so our program are targeted to science teacher, especially in relation to environment education, climate change education, that consists of teacher training program, research program, capacity building, and also partnership or collaboration. So this is one of our regional trainings, the Environmental Education for Sustainable Development, or in abbreviation ESD. We have established this since 2009, that SIKIS has been developing the whole school approaches in the promotion of environmental education through this training. And this training also is part of SIKIS regular training program that aims to improve the competence of science teacher in integrating environmental issues such as climate change, disaster risk reduction, and also global citizenships into their teaching and learning activities. In developing such program, SIKIS always invite and also collaborate with experts, whether from the universities or other relevant organizations, to make sure that we can deliver quality program and also experiences to the participants. And various strategies are also applied in this trainings, in this course, such as brainstorming, group discussion and presentation, peer or real teaching experience, and also activities related to cultural sessions. And throughout the course, our participants are expected to not only learn from the facilitator or experts, but also from other participants, so that they can learn about any challenges faced by each other countries related to the implementation of ESD. And by adapting, receiving all the knowledge and the experiences that have been acquired into their daily teaching and learning practices through a lesson plan or a learning scenario, we hope that as the end result or the outcome, that our students have a positive change of knowledge, values, and also attitude toward the sustainable development. And these are the topics we usually covered in our environmental education related training, such as the greenhouse effect. We have we covered also ocean and climate change, biodiversity, to disaster risk reduction in the classroom. Beside the ESD training, we have also several collaborative activities that we invite partner organization to provide programs, such in the latest one in 2019. We were partnering with the OCE, the Office for Climate Education of France. They deliver ESD workshop for about 30 or 40 science teachers in order to promote the awareness of climate change and climate change education. And in the end of the course, the participants formulate their follow-up actions, such as the lesson plan or school program to promote climate change issues. And also for the last 5 years, we have also collaborated with our partner from Australia, the IETSE, that they are focusing on the renewable energy and also the sustainable housing. They have this kind of kits that is known as Stellar Kit. Science, it's abbreviation for science and technology education leveraging relevance or Stellar to learn kinds of different alternative energy than the fossil energy such as winds, solar, and water. And this is the sample of the Stellar kits that they usually apply in the workshop. They they provide various experiments using these stellar kits that were engaging for students to learn and do hands-on activities, but also various strategies on how to learn those concepts, the renewable energy, sustainable housing, using just a simple daily available material as well. So these are the sample of our participant products during the training, such as the action plan, a school program that will be implemented by all participants in their respective school. And this one follow-up action that was reported by one of our alumni. She developed several environmental programs in her school, comprising of like student composting activities, and no plastic waste policy, one classroom, one garden program, hydroponic gardens, and several other programs. So these programs lead her school to achieve what we call the Adiwiyata Mandiri Award. So this is an award given by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of Republic of Indonesia in order to encourage the creation of knowledge and awareness of school community in an effort to preserve the environment. So this is one of the sample of the participant products, and this is another programs that we have. Still in terms of collaboration, in 2012, we have partnered with SEAMEO Rexam, Penang, Malaysia, to develop teacher guide in integrating climate change issues. So this guidebook for teachers contains the various issues that result from climate change and describes the integration process in developing the adaptive capacity of the people of the Southeast Asia through formal and also non-formal education. And this book provide also basic information on the causes of global warming that triggers climate change. And also it presents lesson exemplars using climate change issues and other environment-oriented or eco-friendly activities as learning context. And moreover, it describes strategies to integrate climate change issues and adaptation concepts in classroom teaching, as well as how to assess the effectiveness of such learning in an integrated learning system. And also as part of our community development, we provided training for teachers for schools that located in the coastal area. There, we facilitated the teachers on how to use their local potential, which was in that location was mangrove. And we facilitate the participant there on how to use this local resource to develop STEM project-based learning to be implemented in their schools. And we call this program as local context STEM-based learning. So another program we call is the research program. So research is always been part of our program, providing the basis of for policymakers or the center as well to develop future program that will be relevant to current issues. And starting from 2020, SIKIS initiate what we call Southeast Asia Climate Change Education Program, or CSEP, that is aimed to promote climate change education, or CCE, which focuses on improving the quality of teachers in educating the young generations about climate change issues by providing them professional development activities. And as for the first step, the first stage, SIKIS will conduct a study mapping of climate change education in several SEAMEO member countries, and this will focus on the curriculum content of CCE and CCE implementation in the classroom. And we hope that this result will be used for a basis for designing more comprehensive program of CCE implementation in Southeast Asia. So this is also part of SIKIS highlighted program. And lastly, to improve the SIKIS staff in managing, developing, and also delivering quality programs, we provide opportunity for them to participate capacity building programs that are related to sustainable development or education for sustainable development. And in the last 2 years, there are about 5 to 7 capacity building activities joined by our personnel, such as IBSE master trainers on climate change education that was organized by ISTIC, UNESCO, and also there are course by GCAD. It was the online course, topic of becoming global citizens for sustainable society, and also there was youth environment assembly by UNEP, major group for children and youth. So this hopefully will enable us to maintain and also improve the quality of our future programs in regards of sustainable development context. And maybe this is just additional slide from me that for participant there, if you need any ideas regarding how to develop learning resources, how to prepare any learning resources implementing sustainable development from early childhood until the secondary level. So here are some samples that you can access through the UNESCO website. There are a total maybe tens or hundreds of learning ideas comprising of the 17 SDGs. So there you can choose SDGs from number 1, from no poverty, until number 16 or 17 about peace and justice, that you can adapt to your classroom, and this is freely accessible. Okay, for now that's all I can deliver for you for the presentation from SIKIS. I hope you can have ideas and also adding your information, knowledge about how SIKIS implementing, developing, and also deliver programs regarding the sustainable development and also the ESG. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reza, for the presentation, and hopefully it gives a better understanding for you all about education for sustainable development, also SIKI's contribution or program on those issues. I do agree with Mr. Reza said that educators or education have a wide-ranging influence to empower learners with knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes to address the interconnected global challenges we are facing right now and in the future. That is why SIKIS has a huge concern and developed several programs to improve teachers and education personnel knowledge and awareness towards education for sustainable development. Dear participants, if you have questions for Mr. Reza related to ESG or other SIKIS program, please write your question on Q&A section or comment in YouTube. Mr. Reza, again, thank you so much for sharing with us. It's really a wonderful session. And we kindly invite our second speaker. Our second speaker is Mr. Jandaral C. Kasunkad from Department of Education Regional Office 1, the Philippines. Now let me introduce our second speaker. He has a long and impressive resume related to science, learning, and education for sustainable development. He is the head of Teacher 3 of Science and Technology Department of Don Ramon E. Costales Memorial National High School, School Division Office of Pangasinan 2, Department of Education Regional Office 1, Philippines. Before his promotion, he spent 3 years teaching science in the junior high school, 3 years in special science curriculum program, and 3 years in senior high school science. Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, pardon me. He has degree major in biological science in both undergraduate and master at Pan Pacific University in the Philippines, where he was a full academic scholar from 2005 until 2009. Moreover, Mr. Kasunkad is an alumnus of SEAMEO Qitep in Science on 2018 short-term training course on Earth and Space Science at Bandung, Indonesia. And he is also a scholar of UNESCO APSEU Ministry of Education, Republic of Korea, during its 2019 Asia Pacific Teacher Exchange Program in partnership with the Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, International Cooperation Office under the Korea-Philippines Teacher Exchange Program. He is an advocate of education for sustainable development and global citizenship education. He also a national content evaluator of student learning materials in science and national writer of SLMS for senior high school STEM course subject Earth Science and Earth and Life Science for Greening program in Green School across K-12 curriculum, a program of Bureau of Learning Development of Department of Education in the Philippines. Very impressive record here. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Jandarel to start his presentation. The floor is yours. Hello, Mr. Jandarel.
Good afternoon.
Good
Can
afternoon.
you hear me?
Yes, but maybe your voice is not really clear here. Can you a little bit make it louder?
Okay.
Okay. All clear. Thank you.
To the director of the SEAMEO Qitep in Science, Dr. Indrawati. To the CK's Deputy Director for Administration, Madam Lily Indarti. To the Deputy Director for Program, Mr. Reza Sechawan. To the Honorable Secretary of the Department of Education, Philippines, Professor Emeritus Leonor Magtolis Briones, to the Director of the International Cooperation Office of the Department of Education, Central Office, Republic of the Philippines, Director Margarita Consolacion C. Ballesteros, to the Director of the Regional Office 1 of the Department of Education, Dr. Tolentino G. Aquino, to the Schools Division Superintendent of Schools Division Office of Pangasinan 2, Dr. Danilo Sisison, and to my principal, Dr. Rowena Lea G. Moreno, to all of you who are participating today from the different countries of the Southeast Asian region, good afternoon. Isang mapagpalang hapon sa inyong lahat. Today, I will be delivering to you my topic, which is entitled Best Practices in the Integration of Education for Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship Education in Teaching Science. This is a personal experience based on strategic leadership and pedagogical experiences during the implementation of the Asia Pacific Teacher Exchange Program for Global Education, Korea Philippines Teacher Exchange Program, re-entry application projects toward post-pandemic science education. I am Mr. Jandaril. I'm the Department Head of Science and Technology Department of the Don Ramon E. Costales Memorial National High School. My goal this afternoon is that I will be able to share to you best practices in conducting science teaching activities related to sustainable development and global citizenship education. Specifically, this 20-minute webinar session aims to review conceptual background, which distinguishes ESD from GSED in terms of their goals and implementation framework, discuss practical experiences in the implementation of ESD and GCED, integration in teaching, science relevant to the conduct of re-entry application projects, and to update Southeast Asian science educators on the Philippine education progress in curriculum development and integration of ESD and GCED in science. To start it up, it begins with a question: where did the concept of ESD and GCED come from? Education for Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship Education arose from the Incheon Declaration on May 19 to 22, 2015 at the Republic of Korea during the conduct of World Education Forum. This indicates that Education 2030 is towards the inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning. Basically, from the phrase, it arose the terminologies education for sustainable development and global citizenship education. But what distinguishes ESD, or Education for Sustainable Development, from Global Citizenship Education, or GCED? Education for Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship Education can be distinguished from each other in terms of their goal. The goal of Education for Sustainable Development is to develop competencies that empower individuals to reflect on their own actions, taking into account their current and future social, cultural, economic, and environmental impacts from a local and global perspective. This has been strengthened by the introduction of ESD by Sir Reza Sechawan earlier. On the other hand, global citizenship education aims to be transformative in terms of knowledge, skills, values towards the learners so that they will be able to come up with a just and inclusive and peaceful living. What is ESD and GCED? What concerns ESG and what concerns GCED? The Education for Sustainable Development concerns the transmittal of learning of the different sustainable development goals. These are 17 and they have been called to be the global goals. On the other hand, GCED is a multifaceted approach on concepts and methodologies which includes 5 versus 17 of the ESD. The 5 are as follows: human rights, peace, education for sustainable development, education for international understanding, and cultural diversity. If you will be looking into the focus of GCED, it has been mentioned there the education for sustainable development, meaning to say ESD is under the umbrella of GCED. How do we teach sustainability? We need to teach sustainability by focusing on the key competencies which has been revealed in the Education for Sustainable Development Learning Objectives, which was published by UNESCO on 2017. This is to be found on each page 10. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 key competencies that should be attained so that the learning of sustainability among our learners, not only in the Philippines, but as well as the learners all over the world, could be strengthened. First, systems thinking. This has something to do with the ability of the learner to recognize and understand relationships, analyze complex systems, and uncertainty dealings. The sustainability competency also believe on anticipatory competency, which enables the learner to understand the future. It has something to do with normative competency, which is the understanding of the norms and values embedded in personal action. Strategic competency involves developing and implementing innovation. Collaborative competency involves learning from others, empathizing others. Critical thinking has something to do with questioning the norms and the practices and the opinions. Self awareness has something to do with learning oneself. How can these key competencies for sustainability be attained? These key competencies are translated into objectives which can be grasped by the learners. And there are three domains: the cognitive, the social emotional, and the behavioral. So if our learners has something to do with grasping the competencies prescribed by ESD, then they will be able to acquire the knowledge and thinking skills. They will be able to acquire the social skills that enable them to collaborate, negotiate, and communicate, and to practice what they have learned and put them into action as referred to the behavioral. Upon integration to identify topic in science, selection of learning objective to the lesson can be made. Specific learning objectives can be found in Education for Sustainable Development learning objectives. This reference enlists all the possible objectives in each of the Sustainable Development Goals that can be integrated to a specific topic in science. This can be found in UNESCO websites. Mr. Reza Sechawan has already delivered the 17 sustainable goals earlier. This includes no poverty up to partnerships. That is the SDG number 17. In our place and in our department, we were able to translate these global goals into the language understood by majority of the people who is living in our place and in our community. So we were able to let these global goals be translated in the language understood by majority. What are the examples of specific learning objectives for an identified SDG? The book for Education for Sustainable Development Learning Objectives enlists all the objectives under the three domains which can be integrated into all the topics that are aligned to specific SDG or Sustainable Development Goal. Say, for example, SDG 17 has something to do with partnership, and one of the domain is cognitive. Let me just cite one. The learners understand global issues, including issues on financial matters and taxation, debt and trade policies, and so many more. All of the sustainable development goals has their respective learning objectives according to the three domains. These objectives are readily available. The teachers can be able to get them from the net, and social emotional learning objectives as well as the behavioral learning objectives. All of the SDGs do have learning objectives. On the contrary, global citizenship education is implemented in classroom and other learning setting following the overall guidance presented in the global citizenship education topics and learning objectives. This will serve as guide to the teachers who has been integrating GCED in science teaching. Similar to ESD, the global citizenship education has three domains: the cognitive, the socio-emotional, and the behavioral. Relative to the ESD, global citizenship education is broad enough. That's why it reveals its key learning outcomes into the different domains, as well as the attributes expected from the learners, as well as the topics relevant to these domains. Prior to this, categorization of learners have been observed. That's why learning objectives are categorized according to age and the level of education in each of the domains. This guide serves as a framework as well as a pattern that a science teacher can use freely in integrating global citizenship education in his or her science teaching. In this particular slide, these are the learning objectives according to the grade level on the socio-emotional aspect. This slide presents the behavioral application of learning objectives in each of the categories of learners. How do we apply ESD and GCED in our science teaching? How do we teach ESD and global citizenship education in science teaching? In my re-entry application project entitled Lifted SDGs, meaning leveraging intercultural familiarity through educating sustainable development goals, we were able to integrate the sustainable development goals in our lessons, particularly the lessons of the teachers delivering the subject. However, due to the uh, occurrence of the COVID-19 pandemic, we adapted into different modality of teaching and continue the transfer of integrating EST and GCED in a modality which is suitable for learning in the new normal. This includes online learning as well as modular type of learning. My application project entitled Project Lifted SDGs, Leveraging Intercultural Familiarity Through Educating Sustainable Development Goals, is an implementation of global citizenship education in science subjects. Basically, this is patterned for senior high school. However, when I was transferred in the junior high school, this has been applied among the junior high school classes in science of the teachers in the department. So, what are the steps in doing and in integrating the sustainable development goals in science teaching? First is that we need to identify the topic in the science curriculum and the main competency where we are going to align the objectives to be found in the sustainable development goals learning objectives. The second step is that we need to familiarize ourselves to the 17 sustainable development goals and select which is best suited for integration in the science topic. In the Philippines, the junior high school sciences are in spiral progression and are actually a continuum of the simpler subjects that they have had, the students have had in their younger year level. That is why the understanding of the 17 sustainable development is a must. Each goal has an objective, and the teacher should be able to identify what is relevant and what is relatable to the topic he will be delivering. Next, there are a lot of objectives presented in each of the sustainable development goals, particularly in each of the domains. That is why not all can be accommodated. It is realistic for the teacher to identify what particular objective can be finished and can be incorporated to the list of the objectives in each of the science lessons that should be accomplished. Meaning to say, the objectives aligned from the Sustainable Development Goals learning objectives should be SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, result-oriented, and time-bound. Finally, if the teacher has already had a concrete plan on how he or she will implement the SDG, he or she may now implement and utilize the favorable teaching delivery procedure like the 7E model and the 4A's in delivering the science lesson. We miss the time that we are teaching in the pre-pandemic because we used to apply the ESD and the GCED in our classes in an actual teaching. The students are enjoying. They are really appreciating the value of ESD and GCED. Collaboration is observed. However, due to the pandemic, all have been challenged. All of the practices, all of the uh, teaching methodologies, and so as the modalities were concerned by among the technocrats in education, not only in the Philippines, but as well as all over the world. The implementation of GCED and ESD integration in science teaching during pandemic is inevitably is inevitable and is continuously done among our teachers. We are doing online classes, and the master teachers and the teachers are actually presenting them well in a manner understood by their learners. Aside from the online learning, the school, our school, the Don Ramon E. Costales Memorial National High School, is also utilizing the modular type of learning. That is why ESD integration on the creation of learning materials has also been incorporated in all our dwellings. All the books, all the SLMs are are linked and have integration of ESD and GCED. For the last two slides I do have, where is the Philippines now? Where is the Philippines now in the implementation of sustainability, education for sustainable development? Under the Curriculum Instruction Department Memorandum number 346/2020, there have been a workshop on the development of learning materials on the delivery of greening program, which is focusing on across K-12 curriculum. We were involved into this endeavor and we were able to integrate the sustainable development goals as well as the concepts of learning harmoniously with each other, a key concept of GCED, in the learning materials that we have submitted for evaluation at the Department of Education Central Office. Where is the Philippines now in implementing the global citizenship education? June 4, 2021, a memorandum was released by the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Diosdado and San Antonio, stipulating that the curriculum and instruction strand through the Bureau of Curriculum Development continues its commitment in providing the department with relevant curriculum standards and program, such as the implementation on the integration of global citizenship education in the curriculum, which is spearheaded by the implementing agency in the Philippines, which is the Philippine Normal University, in partnership with the Department of Education and the UNESCO APCU under the leadership of the PNU president and the coordinatorship of the GSED curriculum uh, coordinator in the integration of GSED in the Philippines, Dr. Serafin A. Arviola Jr. Dear friends, these are our endeavor in implementing the integration of GCED and ESD not only in our school, but in the national scope in the Philippine science education setup. Lastly, my dear friends, my teachers and my principal in our schools do believe that the future of the world is in the new normal class we have today. That's why let us strive with excellence and compassion towards achieving a better normal. Once again, good afternoon and mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for Mr. General for your best practice sharing. It really gives us a clear explanation about how can education for sustainable development and global citizenship education can be implemented inside the classroom. Next, we'll have a question and answer
Thank
session.
you so much, Ma'am Adelia.
Yeah, thank you. I will invite you to question and answer session, and also Mr. Reza. We have several questions here from the participants, also from the academic team of SEAMEO Qitep in Science. First, for Mr. Reza, how do we submit a paper to be presented in your next webinar, and what is the criteria and the qualifications? Maybe we can directly answer the question, so it will be more effective.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. This is, I think, a question for uh, our committee here about how if uh, the participant here wants to join as the presenter I believe so. Uh, whether to submit a paper to be presented to your next webinar and the criteria and also the qualification. Well, actually, for now, we don't have any call for paper or any submission to be presented as a webinar. But we have a program that we call the SIKIS Research Grant that the participant can um, join or participate by submitting their proposals, and then there will be a series of workshop if the proposal was uh, elected by the committee. Uh, but well, unfortunately, this submission is just already passed. So yeah, I I hope that in next year we will also open the new batch that you can participate in the science research grant for the next round. And but I think this will be also an input, a good, great input for us to, yeah, maybe we can have another program to ask for proposal for from any other participant who wants to uh, be part of our webinar series. But yeah, yeah, we will discuss this is internally first. I think so.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Reza. Hopefully it answered your question. Miss Rosalind Manio from YouTube comment. And for Mr. General, before I give you a question, I will read some appreciation for you from our YouTube. They say that your planning phase is really helpful and we are very proud of you, they said from the YouTube session. So your presentation is really inspiring for our participants here. We have some question for you from our academic team from SIKIS. First, what is the strategy used by Ministry of Education of the Philippines to conduct a teacher training program related to integration of ESD or GCED?
Okay, that's uh, basically the trainings that the Department of Education is aligned to Deped Order number 11 series of 2019. This has something to do with the National Educators Academy of the Philippines transformation. All the trainings that should be given to the teachers should be governed by Deped Order number 50 series of 2020, uh, has something to do with the uh, attending the key priority areas of the teachers. One of which is the content on knowledge and pedagogy. This is the key priority area which we can simply give focus in providing a strategy, in creating a strategy, in delivering how to integrate education for sustainable development and global citizenship education in a wider perspective. All the trainings that are having been delivered and implored to all the teachers in the Department of Education is simply governed by the two, DepEd Order number 11, 2019, and DepEd Order number 50, 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your answer, Mr. General, and hopefully it will be give more perspective for the teacher training institutions like us or other SEAMEO center. Maybe we can take some strategies from the best practice of Philippines. The next question is for Mr. Reza. There is a question that is all training related to ESD still conducted during pandemic? And what is the participants' criteria to participate in those training?
Okay, thank you very much. So since the pandemic in 2020, the early 2020, well, we were planning to convert our regular training that we used to do it in face to face to be uh, in an online mode. But yeah, because uh, there are so many things to prepare and also to convert and also to so many things to be adjusted. So in 2020, we uh, have have not conducted yet the regular training. So yeah, this year we plan to do all the regular trainings. We currently have three: the environmental education for sustainable development. We have the art and space science, and also both of these training is for a science teacher. And the last one, the science classroom supervision, that is targeting for headmaster and school supervisors. This will also conducted in online mode. So, well, hopefully in the mid of this year uh, we can open these trainings, and for the criteria for the participants, we can for the details we can uh, get that information from our website actually. But at least uh, all the participants, after you join our programs, you should at least disseminate what the all the knowledge, all the experience that you have from participating our course to your peer teachers, maybe from schools or your teacher forum in your respective countries. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Reza. As maybe for additional information, if you are interested to join our training course or you want to know more about our program, please visit our website at www.qitepinscience.org. Okay, so hopefully it will give you a more updated information related to the criteria of each training that we conducted this year. Next, for Mr. John Darrell, we have several questions here. Hopefully, you will be patient to answer this. The first, how can we access the GCAD framework module that you, in your slide, you give some sample of framework model. How can we access that? And is it open access or not? The second one is, based on your experience, what is the best challenges to integrated ESD or GCED in science learning? And the third one is, after you implement it in your classroom, how can you measure and impacts to students after they learn science learning with ESD and GCED integration?
Okay, there are three questions.
Yes.
First, can we access the modules or the student learning materials that we have made? Uh, the answer there is we have signed a particular memorandum that this has something to do with the evaluation first. It should be evaluated first before the cascading will be given. Second question, what's the second question again, Ma'am Adele?
The challenges.
Okay, the challenges is the awareness among the teachers, the competency among the teachers, as well as the upskilling on how to integrate. Basically, we do the integration on a simplified manner, not as in detail the way I presented it earlier. So there is no one size fit all. There are so many ways to kill a cat, kill a chicken, I should say, Okay, so basically, they just have to explore. The third is Ma'am Adele.
Is after the student learn it in classroom, how can you measure the impact?
Okay, this is a good platform for coming up with a research. How the learners be how aware are the learners in um, grasping the SDGs from the teachings that they have obtained from the teachers? What are the skills and the pedagogical competency the teachers have delivered to them? These can be subjected to research, and I guess hopefully, if being given a chance, a research grant from SEAMEO Qitep in Science is one good opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your clear answer. So we wish that the framework will be validated soon, so it can be accessed openly with all of the educator in SEAMEO member countries. And we wish the best for all the research plan that that you plan right now. We kindly invite you to participate in our next CKIS Research Grant because unfortunately for this year, CKIS Research Grant has been closed and we have already selected 50 grantees. So maybe next year we'll meet in the CKIS Research Grant 2022. So thank you so much again for Mr. Reza and Mr. General for your kind presentation, for all the discussion session. Unfortunately, we cannot receive any more questions since our time is quite tight schedule here. And we have finished all of today's presentation. From speaker's presentation, we could learn that nowadays world population increase rapidly, and it will need an urgent effort from our community to make sure that our Earth can support the needs of this increasing population. One of the efforts is to balancing human life through sustainable development. And education hopefully will play an important role to empower learners with the knowledge, skills, value, and attitude to address the interconnected global challenges. And ESD aims at develop competencies and empower individuals to reflect on their actions from local and global perspective. Meanwhile, GCED or Global Citizenship Education aims to transformative learners to contribute more to inclusiveness and peace in the world. Based on Mr. Gendar's presentation, Teach Sustainability is focusing on 8 key competences, which are system thinking, anticipatory, normative, strategic, collaboration, critical thinking, self-awareness, and integrated problem solving. These competencies can be attained into learning objectives that classified into 3 domains: cognitive, socio-emotional, and behavioral. Meanwhile, global citizenship education can be integrated in science teaching through learning topics and learning objectives with the framework that already designed right now. If you want to integrate global citizenship education and ESD to the classroom, the first you should do is to identify the topics in science curriculum and mind competencies that will be integrated with SDGs. Then the teacher should familiarize oneself to 17 SDGs, which is best suited for integration in science topics, and set learning objectives that suit and align some of SDGs. And lastly, implemented using favorable learning models like 7A or other favorable models. During pandemic, unfortunately, all the learning practice will be adapted to more innovative way to make students learn more about ESD and GCED. Dear participants, that's all the conclusion for our today's webinar. Before we end this webinar, I'd like to invite all the participants to create an account at our course information system at course.qitepinscience.org to get access to our upcoming programs. Also, I'd like to inform you about the attendance form and evaluation form. We have shared the link to access the attendance form and evaluation form on the chat box in YouTube. please fill in the attendance form and webinar evaluation form, as it is the requirements for you to get an e-certificate of this webinar. We will send the e-certificate to you by email in 7 working days at the latest. Finally, on behalf of SEAMEO Qitep in Science, I'd like to extend our gratitude to all the speakers, Mr. Reza Setiawan and Mr. Jan Siderel, for your sharing, and thank you for all the participants for joining this webinar. We wish you well, be safe, have a good day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jandara.
Thank you so much, Mr. General.
Thank you so much, Sir Reza and Ma'am Adele. Thank you so much, Ma'am Lily Indarti and Director Indrawati. Sir Reza, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep inspiring.
Promising future will rise to the call of the times and create a stronger tomorrow. Let's start to make a difference, teaching everyone to learn through science, health, and technology. We will share our expertise by promoting knowledge and policies. We can build a better world. We'll achieve our goals through partnership, creating opportunity by working hand in hand together. Accomplish all our dreams for a better quality of life is now within our reach.